needling people, I think.
You can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, after the show, you give me a list of clubs you haven't got a person for, and I'll start needling.
We've got something for London and we've got something for Hull.
Wonderful.
Every other club, we haven't got anything for.
Right, superb. Right, well, put me down for Bradford.
But we're not. But no, we want other fans to do it.
Of course we do. I know.
And we don't want just one for each club. If other people support those clubs and want to send them in, just record yourself chatting for a minute or two about the highs and lows of the season, your favourite games, your favourite players, etc.
We've had people get their kids involved before, like a family affair. It's just free form. Tell us about your season from your point of view.
It's up to you to talk about your club. It's your bit.
Yeah.
Do it as you will, basically.
There you go. Now then.
Because I look forward to that so much. I'm feeling a bit deflated that we haven't got more so far.
Your team just won the grand final.
Yeah, that's perked me up.
Right, okay. So, what's this next sentence?
Oh, well, also potential for Four Nations meetups, because we're intending to go to the final and the Coventry double header.
Yes.
Now, we need to sort out our travel plans and the finer details of those things.
Yes.
The final...
I've been led to believe that your Uncle Liam was going to Cov.
Yeah.
Is that not true anymore?
He is. So it might be that there's limited scope for time around it unless me and you could venture out on our own to stay over or something. So we need to talk about that probably off air.
Yeah.
But otherwise there'll be some scope before and after for a short period of time. The final as well in Liverpool, the kick-off of that, I think, is 2 o'clock.
Yeah, it's in the afternoon. It's 2 or 2:30, isn't it?
So the potential would be for after the final to meet up somewhere, which might actually be a bit easier than before. Because if you think about it, it might potentially be a bit easier because everyone's already in the same place, so everyone can go to the same place from the same place.
Well, then let's look at some ideas, and then as part of the Sloppies, we'll announce what we want to do for Coventry and Liverpool. Yeah,
and also though, if you go in, hit us up so then we can sort of link in with you in any sort of messages we set up in case people aren't on social media or aren't always on social media, might not see bits.
Yeah,
we can share it with people that way.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
Sounds superb. Okay, so that's your feedback and shout-outs taken care of. Let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. So to news from the world of rugby league then, and breaking today, we'll start with England RL. England's head coach Wayne Bennett has announced his 24-man squad for this year's Four Nations series. St Helens pair Johnny Lomax and Mark Percival have made the cut for England's Four Nations squad, but the 2016 Man of Steel Danny Houghton has missed out. The 24-man squad includes 15 players from last year's international series win over the Kiwis and 4 uncapped players. The uncapped players being Johnny Lomax, Mark Percival, Hull FC forward Scott Taylor and Castleford Tigers halfback Luke Gale. So the squad in full: John Bateman, formerly of the Bradford Bulls, Kevin Brown of the Widnes Vikings, George Burgess, Sam Burgess and Thomas Burgess, all of the Bradford Bulls formerly, Darryl Clark of the Warrington Wolves, Mike Cooper of St George Illawarra Dragons and next season Warrington Wolves. There we go. Liam Farrell of the Wigan Warriors, Brett Ferris, formerly of the Bradford Bulls, Luke Gale, formerly of the Bradford Bulls, James Graham of the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, Ryan Hall of the Leeds Rhinos, Chris Hill from Warrington, Josh Hodgson from Canberra Raiders, Johnny Lomax St Helens, Jermaine McGilvery from the Huddersfield Giants, Mark Percival from St Helens, Stephen Ratchford from Warrington, Dan Sargentson of Wigan Warriors and the Gold Coast Titans, Scott Taylor from Hull, Callum Watkins from Leeds Rhinos, Elliot Whitehead, formerly of the Bradford Bulls, Gareth Widdop from the St George Illawarra Dragons and George Williams from the Wigan Warriors. So the big talking point, how many ex-Bradford players are in this squad and what a production line must there be at Odsell?
That's what everyone's been talking about, yes, Tom.
But there are a lot of talking points in this squad in actual fact, aren't there?
Yeah, and we have had a few tweets and stuff come through today. We haven't had a chance to put them into the rundown because obviously time limits on when we were able to finalise that this lunchtime. But most people were talking about the inclusion of only 2 wingers, the inclusion of only 2 hookers was a little bit of a surprise due to the quality of depth. And then some of the people that have missed out. Shall we start with some of the people that have missed out?
Well, there are some notable absentees. I'm looking at a few names. Do you want to go through some of the ones that stand out there?
Well, my list includes everyone's favourite fullback this year, Jamie Shaw.
Yep.
Man of Steel, Danny Houghton. The best hooker of the Super League era, James Roby. Sneed and Smith both have their faults, but Sneed's had a very strong year. Smith has won another grand final and has being the incumbent and was man of the match in the deciding game last year. Then Amor and Walmsley from St Helens. Joe Burgess as a wing option surprised me a little bit because he has been playing in the NRL, and towards the back end of the year, as we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, he did seem to get his act together, try and scoring wise. Hardacre, who's a sort of similar-ish story, certainly would have added utility value at the least. And Leroy Cudjoe, who, whilst playing in the qualifiers, it hasn't stopped 4 other players in the squad getting into the squad having played in the qualifiers, and Cudjoe has arguably been as strong as any of those other 4 over the course of the campaign. Yeah,
Cudjoe was the real standout for me. I think in some respects, Roby's not being included. There's an argument to say that this is quite a forward-thinking squad in some senses. There are a couple of names in it that belie that, though.
Because there's the injury misses out as well. Yeah. Tompkins, O'Loughlin, but it's probably his time might have run now at 33.
Yeah. I think O'Loughlin might have gone the way of a James Roby in this.
The other injured players were Curry, who would have made the squad. It seems almost certain from the way Wayne Bennett spoke about that. And I think someone else, maybe. We didn't mention Tom Briscoe's another person who's got a lot of international experience who missed out.
Well, the weakness thing didn't surprise me as much once I sat down and analysed it, because Australians and Australian Rugby League and coaches oftentimes will play 4 centres and have centres who are interchangeable onto the wing, and that seems to be kind of
on the wing.
Exactly, that seems to kind of be,
especially
de rigueur in Australia at the moment in international and high-end games where they want to tighten up defences and do things like that. I'm not totally surprised that he hasn't included a raft of wingers, to be completely honest with you.
So is there anyone who's missed out that you would have had in over anyone that is in?
I would have included Shaw, but I would have probably left out Kevin Brown.
Yes, I would have had Brown out and had a back, either Hardacre or Shaw in instead of him. Maybe at a squeeze, Joe Burgess if I wanted an extra winger, but I'd probably have gone with Hardacre or Shaw because both probably could play it on the wing. And I probably would have taken Ferris out and had Roby in.
Right.
Because if push came to shoving, you did need another back rower. Houghton or Roby could play there every day of the week for the rest of the year.
I have no massive objections to him only including 2 hookers, and I think he's picked the right 2 hookers to include in this squad. And I think maybe he's taken not necessarily a gamble, but a calculated risk that are you more likely to pick up injuries in your pack than you are, I know the hookers playing the pack, but are you liable to pick up more injuries from your props and your second rowers and guys like that than you are your hooker? And these are both hookers that can play 80 minutes, so that kind of doesn't rob Peter to pay Paul, but that's the payoff he's gone for, I think, by sizing up his pack a bit more.
George Burgess on stature, on reputation, you would keep him in the squad. On performances in 2016, I would. That's why I mentioned Amor and Walmsley's misses. I would have been considering Amor. To be perfectly ahead of George Burgess on performances this year. But George Burgess is an NRL player.
And when he plays, when he plays right, and when it happens for him, he's devastating, isn't he?
So composition of the squad, right? You've got 2 fullbacks, 2 wingers, 3 centres. So you've got 7 players to fill 5 positions, but then you've got 4 halfbacks, right? 2 hookers, 4 second rowers, and 7 prop/middles. Because obviously this team will have a middle unit loose forward. It'll probably be Sam Burgess. Maybe with a dose of Mike Cooper here or there. But do you think that
who doesn't like a sudden injection of ginger?
Do you think we've over? Do you think that's suitable for the opposition?
I'm not really surprised that Wayne Bennett is going for this. I think he'll want to match teams up the middle and earn the right to play, and I think he'll want to be the match of teams like Australia defensively, and I think by having numbers in the forwards that you can rotate, you increase your chances of being more effective defensively, I think.
Right.
So I'm quietly happy with this squad, to be honest with you.
Before we talk about what our 17s our match day 17 would be then out of this lot, is there any inclusions that you are really pleased to see?
It's not a surprise, but I'm really pleased to see Luke Gale in the squad for a kick-off. I'm really pleased to see Johnny Lomax in, because whilst he's had limited game time, what I've seen of him this season when he has played has been impressive in every inch of the international. The same is true for Mark Percival. So both St Helens lads, I'm really pleased to see them get in there. It's nice for Kevin Brown to be included again, but let's call a spade a spade. He's 4th out of 4. And if that's the case, then is there room for someone else to come in like a Shaw to give you a bit more? Obviously, he looks for utility in his 3 quarterbacks. So maybe that's 3 quarterbacks. The backs in the 3/4. I learned that. Do you know what? That's been stuck in my head since I watched the bloody Steve-O thing when they had the squads up on. They had coverage of his game. I think it was Dewsbury against Leeds, and the way they broke the squad down, it had full-back, 3/4, half-back, and then so it's just been kind of. I think it's just been lodged in my head too.
I'm happy.
Not 3 quarterbacks. No,
I'm happy for Scotty Taylor to be in there. I think it's an inclusion that's been warranted over this season. I was a bit critical of him at the start of this year, and but more so at the start of last year, and he's proved me wrong in both of those times by being an absolutely outstanding performer.
Yeah.
And the ones you mentioned, but Percival in particular as a future sort of sighter, I'm really happy about. But overall, I think I'm just pleased that there wasn't a ton of second-rate Aussies that aren't gonna be able to perform to the same level as. We're only going to perform as well as our players can, and they won't have that extra bit, that attitudinal edge.
Yeah, that's it, that passion. There will obviously have been a couple of awkward conversations with Darius Boyd about why he's not been picked. But apart
Darius,
from that,
you're not eligible. Sorry, son.
I know, exactly. Now.
But Dad, can I still
go upstairs and clean your teeth, and if you're a good lad, you can still 5 minutes later.
So what's your side then?
Right, okay. This is... Yeah, okay, so starting with the forwards then. I've got to start with the front. This is to take the field against New Zealand as our first game, isn't it? So I know France is our warm-up game, but our first game...
Either way...
To take the field against New Zealand, I've gone front row of Chris Hill, Hodgson, James Graham, with Bateman, Farrell and Sam Burgess in the back row. Galen Widdop at half-back, and McGilvray and Hall on the wings, Percival and Watkins at centre, and Stephen Ratchford at full-back. For me, interchange Tom Burgess, George Burgess, asterisk, because you could put either Taylor or Cooper in there for my money, Elliot Whitehead, and then George Williams on the interchange bench.
Right, okay.
Where have you gone?
Quite different, actually.
Right.
I'd play Johnny Lomax.
Right.
I'd start with Johnny Lomax. If things went awry, then Ratchford is I'm more than happy for him to slide in down the line. Mm-hmm. I'd have Jerry on one wing and Hall on the other. We don't have much choice.
Yeah. And they as wingers actually suit this Aussie style again, don't they? Because they're big, stocky wingers who are generally, by winger standards, pretty good defensively.
Can break a line, can take a ball in as well as finish off the end of something as well. Mm-hmm. I'd go with Watkins, and I'm worried about this lad's body, but the way he's played over the Super 8s, I would be thinking of Sargentson. I'd want to play Percival, but I'm not quite sure if I'd be throwing him in from the start. And the other option there, obviously, is Bateman or Ratchford. But I'm leaning. I don't know if it's just my sort of Wigan view after the... we're going to talk a lot about Dan Sargentson when we talk about the game, basically.
Yeah, can't wait.
So I'm torn between Sargentson or Percival, but I think he might go with Bateman in the centres.
I think so.
Yeah. Then my halfbacks would be Widdop and Williams.
Okay.
I would have Hill, Hodgson, Graham as my starting front row. I'd have Farrell and Whitehead as my starting back row. Mm-hmm. Sam Burgess on the bench. Okay. Now my interchange will be Tom Burgess, Darryl Clark, Mike Cooper, and either George Burgess if Bateman isn't playing in the centre, or Bateman if Bateman is playing in the centre, I'll play George Burgess on the bench. If Bateman isn't, then I'd have Bateman on the bench instead.
Right. So
I'd be leaving out Brown, Ratchford, Ferris, Taylor, Gale, and Percival.
Yeah. See, I've gone with Ratchford over Lomax just because Ratchford's had such a good season all year, and he's predominantly played at fullback for Warrington, and he just reads the game brilliantly. He very rarely gets caught out of position. He fields kicks generally very well. He's getting, that the teams we're coming up against are going to put the ball down, are going to try and kick positionally, and if you've got a guy who can read that, that's going to be to our advantage. And I don't know how well Johnny Lomax does that, whereas I know Stephen Ratchford does. That's kind of what
I feel like.
I've crossed out Lomax. I've had Ratchford / Lomax written down, and that's kind of been what twisted. And Ratchford can run brilliantly ball in, and he can scoot from dummy half, so he can chime in as well. I know Lomax is a phenomenal player, and he does a lot of that too for St Helens. So it's not.
So that's our main discrepancy, is it? That's our main talking.
Seems like it. And the centre thing
you've gone with Gale.
Well, I would split my halves. You see, I would have Gale on the left side and Widdup on the right, and kind of.
Why wouldn't you have Williams on the left side and Widdup on the right?